welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and Disembodied Hands. Oh yeah, Quindy. I'm like, wonk. You know those little disconnects where your brain just explodes a little bit and you're like, where was I? Oh yes, I remember now. Hello everyone. Of all the people to hiccup on, it shouldn't be Queen Quindy. It should be like, you know, Disembodied Beard Man, who we only see rarely. Hello, John. Hello, everybody. Yeah, dragon. Yeah, Quindy and I talked yesterday. I was a little bit more excited about the dragon, and also I didn't know if I wanted to do OSL on the Sophie until I figured that out. I don't want to start her, because if you're going to do OSL, you're going to start it from the beginning with that in mind, in my opinion. So if you're going to get really good OSL anyway. So that is something to think about, whether I want to do it that way or whether I just want to enjoy painting the model as is without having to worry about a lighting effect. And I also need to look at the position after the wings are on and see if the position is even good for a lighting effect. Might not. Might not be. So all those things contributed to the fact that we are painting dragons today. Or at least humanoid dragons. So yeah. So the first thing we have to do is to decide color. And I've decided to throw this open to you guys. I am going to ask you to pick a chromatic color, and then I may pick a secondary color to go with it. So let's just put the usual suspects up. I suppose we could do, yeah, let's do a bunch. Let's do red, blue, green. Let's do, I'm talking about doing a secondary pattern in the scales, because there's lots of scales. So I can actually, I think, work a secondary color in. Oh, I see. I tried to get all of the print connectors off yesterday, but I missed a couple. So I'm going to get those guys out of there. There. I spent a while prepping this, but of course there's always more. So what other colors do we want? Between red, blue, green, what else? Anybody else have any other suggestion that you actually care about? Please don't just toss things into the ring just to toss things into the ring. But if there's a color that you would really like to see me do on this model, then speak up. I'm not interested in devil's advocating colors. I'm interested in actually you are interested in these colors. Yes, I have, a long time ago, with the half-orc wizard. Go look up the half-orc wizard, Airwiz. They can be tricky unless you have the bottle up against the model. So we've got... Okay, so we've got... turquoise, blue, red are the ones that I've seen so far. Yeah, Vansele, I believe, is the name of that mini. Yeah, that is the one. That is the one that I've done a glass thing on. I'm not actually a fan of doing the glass effects, but I mean, you can do it. It's just, I mean, the happy thing is that on 28mm at least, it's very simplified. Trying to do it on a bigger model convincingly is, like, ridiculously hard. Yeah, honestly, sometimes Airways I just paint them colors or I paint them like metal because, you know, if you thought about it, unless you had an anti-shattering enchantment, you wouldn't want a glass vial in a dungeon. But sometimes I'll paint them colors, assuming they're ceramics. Oh man, all these... I swear, I went over this mini yesterday. I removed so many of these little nubbins, and there's still more nubbins to take away. So, so I've got no army green twisted Noma. I want jewel colors. It sounds like that the colors that people are mostly interested in are either a blue or a turquoise or a red. I think I saw a white flyby, but I'm not sure, Zachariah, if you wanted that or if you were just trying to suggest stuff. Please don't just try to suggest stuff. Actually, suggest something that you would care about seeing. Yeah, all these little supporty things. And I'm just cleaning them off while we run this poll, and then we'll start. You are wanting it? Okay, throw white in there too. So we have red, blue, turquoise, and white. Let's put those options up, Quindy, and have people vote. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I need a poll. My apologies. I should have asked that directly. No, I'm not asking for any secondary. I'm going to decide the secondary myself based on color theory. I'm not asking for secondary color suggestions. I'm only asking for the primary color of the dragon, which we will then decide on a secondary color that will go well with it. Because I like dragons that are a little bit more than, like, a little more interesting than one color these days. These days I'm switching it up on my dragons. So yeah. Red, blue, turquoise, and white. Yes, let's put those up. They all have challenges of their own. Those are all like interesting colors to paint. Polls up. All right, what primer color? So this will be the majority color, and then I'm going to add in accents of other colors, I believe. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it. There are places that Christine has put in where you can do that on this model, so go ahead, and I think I've gotten all my little nubbins off of this. I don't see any more nubbins that are going to attack me. I'm going to watch the poll as it discovers. Okay, guys, for those who are just coming in, we need votes. We need votes on the primary color of this dragon. And now I've got to figure out how I'm going to play with that with a secondary color. She's got kind of a little bit of a crest. Horns, I think, will be bone, but it could be dark or light. She's got tiny little eyes. These eyes are definitely going to be a solid color instead of having pupils, I think, because they're just so little. I see choices. Choices are piling up. I'm going to get this model stuck down to a square of wood. But first I'm going to knead it up so that it sticks well. Also, let me know, guys, how my voice sounds. I changed the position of my mic a bit. And I'm also going to have you test for me how it sounds when I rinse my brush. Everybody's turquoise is different. I like turquoise. I've never painted a turquoise dragon. Yeah, I was noticing varying results on my videos, and so I was like, well, I want to get that kind of figured out. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to rinse a brush. I want you to let me know if it sounds too much. Can you hear it? And if it is it way loud? Do it again. Awesome. Excellent. Because I found before that, on my video at least, when I rinsed my brush, it was really loud. So this is great. Great. All right. Excellent. Yeah, I'm doing some fine tuning because my YouTube is really doing well right now. I checked on it yesterday and I must have had, somebody must have mentioned to me somewhere. I saw a slight bump on one day, but in general, just in general, I'm getting more traffic on my YouTube. So could be just organic from committing to the at least one video a month thing, or doubling down and doing 2 a month now. All right, looks like Turquoise Brigade wins. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. So now let's see here. Do I want to go dark turquoise or do I want to go light turquoise? That's going to be a decision. That's our first color decision, is whether to go with a darker turquoise to start or a mid or a light. Excellent. I see the poll is about to expire. I have way too much paint in the way of my console there. Maybe. I don't know, Critico. But I've gotten a lot. I'm almost at 1,000. I was at 977 yesterday when I checked. Turquoise wins. Alrighty. Got our nice goopy sticky tack here, so I'm gonna actually move this a little closer to me. 1 second. Adjusting so that it's more comfortable to hold it where I need to hold it. There we go. And I'm gonna squish the putty up around the side just a little bit. I like to do this when the putty is fresh and soft. It just helps to hold the model on there. It's not as important with plastic models, but it just helps to anchor it onto there. You don't have to do it all the way around. You can leave, you know, a little bit of a gap, and it's not gonna hurt. It's sticky enough that it's gonna tack nicely onto the sides. And this base is super smooth, so it can really be anything, which is good because we probably have to sculpt over it, just because the feet are pretty big and the tail is also connected. So you could take this all off, but yeah, you have to channel me, Zachariah. Check the channel. What would Anne say? What would Anne say here? All right. Cool. All right. I'm kind of thinking. I'm thinking about a David color scheme because you guys chose turquoise, and he loves turquoise. And usually the color that he throws it in with would be either red or orange. So I'm kind of thinking about doing a red detail, because if you look on this model, you see that Christine has given us a little band of connecting tissue between the back scales and the underscales. And she's also done this on the legs consistently. This is a sign of somebody who used to be a painter and wants color accents. So we've got this, this, and this, that little strip coming down there. So I'm thinking I'll do that in red. And I'm thinking I'm going to do the cloth in like a red-orange or an orange, depending. Might do the armor plates in red if I need more red up top. I can do a small line of scales here in red. She also is channeling Julian Bob and has feathers. So this is a cool shield too. And maybe we can do like turquoise and red and orange panels on this. Maybe turquoise on the sides, red and orange, and then gold. Should be really shiny. I kind of like that. And if I do that, what I think I want to do is maybe make her weapon like it's magical and do a lava rock. So actually do like veins of lava in the stone hammer. What do you guys think about that? Is a very World of Warcraft. Is very World of Warcraft. All right, so let's do that. And since I want to go red and orange, I want to go darker with the turquoise, that means, to start with. We'll still highlight it, but we're going to go, I think we'll use my favorite turquoise, which I don't think I've ever had the chance to use as an actual color on a model before. Oops, sorry, face cam. Oh, and I think I'm going to invest in a new face cam, guys. Likewise, see, as my YouTube gets bigger, and I get closer to like actually monetizing it, I actually can rationalize spending money on better gear. So I was looking at face cams. Face cams have come a long way. You can get a lens now on your face cam that's like a DSLR lens that makes you look really good. So I'm thinking I might rebuild my backdrop a little bit and get a new face cam. So that's I have it in my Amazon cart. I have to just budget for it. So that's my next thing. So then I'll have a nice face cam for my because I did that for those of you who are on my Patreon, even as free members. If you're a free member, you don't have to pay anything. You can just go and sign up as a free member on my Patreon. You get videos in advance of me posting them on YouTube, and I just put up the water one yesterday. The water one is mostly me just talking about like legends about water. Like, do you need special water to paint? Do you have to use distilled, or is it a good idea? Do you have to use a separate water jar for metallics? Stuff like that. It's the water video, but it's all me talking, right? There's really no showing off of things, and so I was like, I need a better face cam. Plus, I want to do an intro video for my channel now that it's finally getting big enough. I want to kind of lay out how I'm going to be doing it in the future. Yeah, I have a decent webcam for a face cam. It's not terrible, but it could be better. My lighting setup is good. So really, I want to do all that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm thinking I want... Yeah, so if you go to my Patreon, you can see the new water video. It's a nice short one. It's going to be part of a new series. I've got 4 series now that I'm going to do. So 1 is done. The fundamentals is done. That's every mechanical thing you need to worry about basically when you start, right? I've got everything on there. I've got my prep, my priming, my basic green stuff work, everything from base coating to washes to layering to glazing to wet blending, all of that, I've got it. Now, what we're going to be working on is every once in a while I'm going to do a short like that, which is kind of a frequently asked question or something I get asked a lot, either on this stream, on the Patreon, or just in general when I'm out in person at events. So that'll be the shorts. And I'm just going to throw one of those in every once in a while. There's going to be the in practice section that we talked about before. So that is going to be a basic short lesson on a specific thing like leather straps or buckles or eyes or whatever. I'm going to try to keep those relatively short as well, but we all know me. They're probably going to be 15-minute videos. Yeah, right, exactly, Agent Marvel, right. That's why I want something out there on the internet about it, right? Hi, Roger. So, because there isn't, some of this stuff is so obvious, but because it's so obvious and it's such a short topic, nobody else is doing a video on it, right? So I want that out there. So that one, once I do the next video, that one will get released public. But right now it's only visible on my Patreon. But then the final one I realized I needed was concepts in miniature painting. And that's going to be color theory, color composition, things like basing and composition concepts, OSL, NMM, all those special fun things, glowing objects, ghosts, stuff like that. Stuff that is like, is a key thing you'll run into, but that is more of like the way you think about something, right? It's more about the way you think about a thing. Maybe I'll also throw painting translucent or transparent miniatures in there. But yeah, so that's kind of like, so it's concepts, in practice, fundamentals, and shorts. And then I'm actually gonna, I did a video a while ago, how I got into mini painting. I'm gonna just actually do an about me section and toss a couple of videos in there. I'll have the about me, and then I'll probably do a short one introducing Kiki. Because why not? People like videos, like to get to know the people that they're watching, right? So I may as well have one that introduces my dog, and that would be fun. And then I'll do one on my books, because why not? Might as well. That'll be the Anne playlist. Yes. Yeah, and that's how you monetize YouTube, is you turn into a cult of personality. But I'm not interested in doing that. Like, I want to be monetizing on YouTube because I'm giving really good information that people can use. Like, that was my whole point of doing any of this, right? Patreon definitely gets my more in-depth stuff. You guys get my more advanced stuff. I'm going to do longer videos for the Patreon. And let's face it, if I do how to paint hair on, like I just put out my $10 video on painting wavy hair, I could do another model with different wavy hair and show it again, and it would still be useful, even to those of you who have already watched that $10 video, because it's going to give you an example on a different model in a different position with different sculptor, right? So I don't think any of this becomes like some people I talk to who are doing Patreons and YouTube and all that, like they want everything behind a paywall. They're like, don't give away anything for free. And I'm like, I don't really believe in that. I think that even if I put a bunch of stuff out there for free, people are just going to want more. That's how I am. Like, if I'm like getting somebody's content and they've got a great like article about how to do X, and I'm like, ooh, but now I want to know more about X. Maybe I should read this other article about X. Maybe it'll tell me even more, right? So, no, Pendrake. It's just not working. Like the hub and all of that stuff. And Kiki's just not in here. Kiki's just not in here, so there's no point in having a dog cam. She doesn't hang out in this room with me. She hangs out in the other room because it's cooler. She likes her tile. But yeah, I agree, Krinika, there's a lot of really obvious stuff out there, and so I'm going to start tackling those little things, just those little questions. Probably the second one, and I touched on it in the water video, but the second one I'll do is what can I do if my paint freezes? Because it's winter. And that's something that, again, people don't watch the water video, but they're specifically looking for a video on what happens when paint freezes. Can paint be frozen? Will my frozen paint be okay? You know, that kind of thing. 5 more reasons. Reasons and reasons. Yeah, Vince is good. I mean, I like Vince's videos. I think he's got his own take on stuff, and it's always useful to get somebody else's because he's quite different from me, right? And he does a lot more integral, like a lot more basing stuff than I do, that's for sure. And he's really good at it. And I don't know, I just like Vince. I think he's got his heart in the right place, and I love how he'll do those deep dive videos on Golden Demon and stuff. Like, I'm interested in that kind of thing. And just the philosophy, like kind of the mindset. I'm going to do a 2 and 2 here. So the colors that I'm using, and you can use, in place of Storm Chaser, I probably use Breon Blue, which is 9055. I don't think you could use Void Blue, but I don't know if I would. Breon is actually closer to what you want here, because you want a blue that's a little bit grayed out to mix with this green. You want something that's got a little higher coverage. Void is wonderful for glazing and for creating really deep blues, but it is very see-through, and I want something that's going to be a base coat. So that's why I'm choosing Storm Chaser. If you don't have Storm Chaser, like I said, Breon is probably your choice, 9055. I'm going to do 2 drops of Elven Green, 9488, which is in common, it's a bones color. It's also a beautiful bones color. You should have this color. It's a beautiful dark green. If you paint rangers or elves or anything like that, or tree people, you need to have that color. Yo, Slayer. Oh, yeah, the resin pores. Yeah, David had to redo his mermaid 3 times. And that's just not what I'm into. I'm more into the functional, get a nice mini on the table. And although you guys know that I do extra work on basing every once in a while, I limit it to when I really have a good idea for it. Like, I don't want to just do that on every model just to be... I used to do that for eBay. I would try to come up with a big base for every model because it meant that the model would sell for more money. And so that was just practicality at that point for me. I was using a lot of Sculpey. But nowadays, I like to do a base if I have a concept. Or if we're going to do a base and I don't have a concept, I just want to do something really nice and simple like this that's going to look... It's still a great model, right? It still, like, looks good. It's still a nice base. It fits the model. And it works. So I need to sign that. That's why she's still sitting up here. Need to sign her. Maybe I'll have a color I can use at the end of the stream. But yeah, hey Slayer, how's it going? We were just talking about my YouTube channel and how I just put out a video about do you need special water for mini painting? And also about, using different water for metallics. and how I'm going to format the 4 different series. We'll have fundamentals, we'll have fundamental shorts, we'll have in practice, and we'll have concepts. And that'll give me plenty of room to expand on the YouTube. So we're mixing these 2 colors together. I'm going to get my black base over here so it doesn't get washed out. And that's the color that I've got right now. So that's a teal, all right. It's a really dark turquoise. And from here you can decide if you want more of a blue or more of a green. I think I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it and see how it looks. I would like it to be a little more toward blue than toward green. So that'll be 3 drops of Storm Chaser and 2 drops of Elven. I just find that it makes this just gorgeous. Yeah, there we go. Really pretty dark turquoise. Seriously, I don't get a lot out of palettes on streams. Research shows, though, that people really, really want to see the person talking to them. If I had another cam, I could do palette, but I'd rather, honestly, rather than take up more real estate on my... Because if I put anything else on my screen, it's going to shrink other things, right? Like, I always want my logo there, or Reapers, so if I put a palette cam in there, I have to shrink down that Reaper logo, throw it somewhere else, you know, throw it in the corner. A lot of people put it over the actual big part of the camera, and I don't like that effect. I want to see what's going on with the miniature, and I don't like other things like crowding out that space. So this is a personal preference thing, but for myself, I would rather pull the palette down, show you what I'm mixing, show you my paint consistency, and then get it out of the way. I've already, if you need to see how I load up my brush, I already have that video. It's called Control Your Paint. It's on my YouTube. And I can always reference that and tell people, and now that you've mentioned it, I will do that. Because that's the only value, right? Is like, you know, on a wet palette, I can see it because you're constantly mixing colors and you want to see how that artist is mixing their colors, picking up their color, all that kind of thing. But on a well, once I've done the original mixing and once I've got to the consistency I want, all I'm doing is loading my brush. So if you understand already how I am loading my brush, you don't really need to see my palette on the real estate. That's my thought process. Because I've considered it, but I never look there. Like when I'm watching a person, I'm watching the person or the actual act of painting. So for me, it doesn't make sense. But I'm gonna, but yeah, I see it. You're suggesting that I repurpose this face cam, but yeah, because this is a Logitech webcam, I'd have to fix the focus on it to make it not constantly be going in and out of focus, or I'd have to put it back so far you wouldn't be able to see. That's why I use this document cam instead of a webcam. The webcam was just a good filler for a face cam, but it's not really good for this sort of thing. Unless you get the Logitech software, fix the focus, never move it, you know. Plus, honestly, where am I going to put that? Like, I need another stretchy arm. It's going to go over here and be like yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. And anybody, at least on the Twitch streams, if you really want to see how I load my brush for this stuff, all you have to do is ask, and I'll pull it down and I'll show you. So, the interactive side, at least. If it's a video about brush loading, then I'm going to have my Paladin frame all along. Honestly, the Control Your Paint video is my most watched video, by the way. It used to be how to mix your own washes. Now it's Control Your Paint. No, it is not. I mixed the turquoise color. It is a mixture of these two. If you don't have Storm Chaser, then pick up Brion Blue 9055. And I'm mixing it 3 drops of blue to 2 drops of the green, and then I'm going to apply it and see how I like it. Yeah, but I'm not really doing these videos for a paint along. And I'm, it would be awkward as a paint along. Like, eventually, I am planning to, like, pick a couple models and paint almost everything on them. 1 second. I still have a little bit of debris here. There we go. But But that's not like so much the point. Now what I am going to see, guys, is real quick is how this goes over the gray. But I think it's going to be okay. Like, that is one thing that sometimes if you want a really vibrant color, you want to go over white instead of gray. And I did consider priming this white, but in the end, I decided to just go with it. I wasn't sure what color I was going to be doing. I'm still pretty happy with that as a starting color. I'm going to bring it up lighter as we go. The nice thing about painting scales is that you can always end on the edge of a scale, and so you can always paint against a wet edge and get a nice even base coat as you go, just by painting in sections. You can do this on larger models by painting in like muscle groups, or you can painting folds separately is okay, but you always want to be working with wet paint. You don't want that edge to dry and then try to be painting over it. It's a recipe for not getting a smooth base coat, as you can see if you go watch my base coat video on my YouTube. Yeah, it looks really dark over but you can see it now as it's drying. It isn't nearly as dark, right? Remember, when everything is wet, it looks darker. So once it dries, then it's going to look lighter. And you can see that color coming out there. It's kind of like peacock green. It's close in a way. It's a little more muted though, Kerniko. It's like a muted peacock. This one is actually, it's a Bones USA, I think, version of a print. I don't know if this is a print. It's Reaper Legends. I don't know. Are these prints this particular number? I thought it was Bones USA. And the only reasons I was seeing little nubbins is just that they didn't clean the original master as much. Or is this a print? Because it was Reaper Legends, so I thought it was Bones USA. Is it a print? Well, I guess we're painting a print. Normally, I would prime prints, yeah. But I guess we're going with it. So we're going with it. Because this is what I'm finding confusing, like, about, like, the Reaper marketing right now is, like, what is it? Website says print. It feels like Bones USA. That's really funny. The material feels exactly like Bones USA. We shall see. We'll just call this a grand experiment, and I'll seal it at the end for sure. Although it's kind of funny that it's getting that hard to tell. There's another nubbin. All of these nubbins. Darn you, nubbins. I keep finding more. So many nubbins. Actually, I think I'm going to switch. I'm using my long brush right now, and I shouldn't be using that for base coating. You should be using a little bit of a bigger brush. Yeah, see, I get confused, especially if I'm not priming, so now I'm going to have to double check everything, which is a little bit annoying, to be frank. It is what it is, though. I'm going to pick up my Reaper Zero instead. Yeah, and I'm selling, I sold 18 books so far as of yesterday this month, which is great. And getting closer to selling that book a day mark. Working on, got some great ideas for Rite of Winter, so I'm working on that. Just trim that in. Let's see how I like that color. It would be brighter over white. This would definitely be looking like a brighter turquoise over white. But I kind of like it, so. It's on Amazon, but it's, it's on Amazon. I'm not in Kindle Unlimited anymore, but the ebook is only $2.99. Shadow Ravens, so you're good. The first one is always going to be $2.99. East of the Sun will be eternally $2.99, except when I run 99-cent sales on it. But the next one of those isn't for a while, because I just ran one in early December? Late November? Yeah, late November. And hopefully by the time I run the next one, Rite of Winter will be imminent. Just keeping on looking, man. Tiny nubbins, so many tiny nubbins. I sat here for like 20 minutes after stream yesterday, just cleaning the nubbins off of this model, and there are still nubbins. Still nubbins! I cannot get away from the nubbins. So many nubbins. Alright. Now I have to kind of watch and see. It looks like the arms do not have the divider segment, so that means that I will definitely be relying on putting that red and orange onto the armor. I'm just taking a real quick look at it to see if I can see how the scales wrap around, but they look like they go all the way around the arm at that point, so I think everything in there is going to be turquoise. But yeah, my Amazon ads are going well. They're getting people to my books, that and organic search, I assume. So now it's just write more books, folks. Keep writing books. That's the game. I knew I was going to get bogged down in the holidays, so I essentially gave myself the second half of December off. And instead, I'm just working on idea work. Let me see how this goes around there. Gotta watch close to see what's armor and what's actual scales. So I'm trying to follow this around. I might use this model on the YouTube as well, just because showing people how to paint scales could be good. There. So the arm, and that's all armor, and then there's the hand. Oh yeah, you should be able to break that off pretty easy, Nico. And then you want to get the little nubbins that they leave behind that I've been using my knife on. But yeah, I just use a knife, and first you just try to break them off. I felt like so like about that, but then I watched David just like grab and twist to get a model off of supports that we had just printed, and now I'm pretty fearless about it. They should come off pretty easily. Then you have to go hunting the ones that connect to different areas. So we're starting with the shadow and working lighter on this, the base dragon scales. So it will get a brighter turquoise, a brighter and lighter turquoise, but this is how we're starting. there's a little bit. There's areas that can be a little hard to get, but just be patient. Yeah, that's the way that it's printed, so they didn't clean it at all for you, Kuroniko. So I would listen to the others here, that you can soak them in IPA, you can put them in warmer water to make them more flexible, all that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out in here, I think there are dragon scales just in this little area in here. There's a plate that comes down too, so I had to watch that. Or a plate or a pad. But yeah, the reason she's got feather earrings is to give you another option to put accent colors on. So that's why I say Christine's is an example of how it's great when sculptors also paint, because they think about those things. No, it doesn't weaken them. The mini is so much more, so much thicker than a support. And the supports are also made to be pulled off. Like, the only thing the isopropyl does to the model is cleans off any extra resin, which they probably already did for you before curing it. Yeah, by Shadow Raven. It's not as scary as it looks. Let me put it that way. All right. And we get the back of this arm. And this is just the shield arm, so it's all scales back here. Yeah, I think that's going to be, I can't tell, I think she's wearing a glove. Yeah, she is wearing a glove on her shield arm. So, at least I see something back there. Either that, it's a glove or a bracer. Hold on. Ah, bracer. I see it's actually a sleeve there. So the arm is okay, but she's wearing a bracer underneath that strap. All right. Fair. Fair. So the hand is still the color of the scales. Yeah, less effective once it's cured. So I don't know that I would try the isopropyl trick. I think I might try the warm water trick that somebody else suggested, or hot water trick. Should make them just a little bit more flexible and less brittle. That's where that bracer comes in, so I can paint this all teal. Yeah, sorry, I thought you realized that's what she had, Zachariah. She got something from somewhere else. And there's a little bit of an edge there that suggests there's a little support pad like there is under this. Under here you can see that. So I'm going to leave that color. Just be careful when you've got these dragon characters. It can be hard to see what's armor and what's not. So take a really close look. This one also has claws. And they weren't as apparent over here, but they're probably just at the tips of, yeah, they're at the tips of the fingers and I didn't see them because they're curled under. And if your brush, your bigger brush is a liability for these small areas, then switch to a smaller brush just for this. Oop, got a blorf on the front. There we go. No problem. Just got a little bit of extra paint on that surface. I want it clean, so. Now I want to do the belly, I think, a lighter color, so I'm gonna hold off on the stomach scales, just because dragons do tend to have that lighter color. I haven't decided for sure yet, but I'm kind of feeling that way. Or at least I'll do a warmer color like a brown or a bronze. So now let's work on, let's do the head actually. And that, I think I'm gonna switch back to a fine brush. Yeah, you'll be fine, Kuro. Just go gently and carefully and you'll be fine. And once you start working with them, you'll get a feel for how quickly you can move with those supports. Alrighty. I think I'm going to paint over... I think I want to paint over everything up here. So when everything is so very fine and fiddly, just go ahead and paint over what you can see. Got an ear here. We can always come back in to pick out detail, but we can move much faster if we're not worrying about painting around everything. And again, with scales on the face, you really don't have to worry about it. You're going to get a smooth base coat. You're going to be okay. Texture always helps disguise that sort of thing. Make sure that I've done that on the other side here. And I'll probably make the horns light since I'm starting dark with the scales, but it depends on how much I choose to bring up everything with highlighting. So there's some little like teethy suggestions there. And I feel like here's another line of scales that could be darker. Yeah. And then we'll keep that underside part lighter, potentially. And right now I'm going to paint the crest in the turquoise, but I may go back on that and underpaint some areas for being red red or orange, or both, later on. And I'm going to look carefully at the side of the neck. I don't have those little seams where I can paint the red, and so the feathers are going to become our accent, which we would figure, right? It makes sense. These scales are really well sculpted. They're nice and small. They've got some really nice, crisp, sharp detail up here, and then nice big broad scales on the big parts of the model, which I really appreciate. We've got a variety of scale types here and scale sizes. Gotta get in behind that earring and get that part above the neck, above the shoulder. Alright, so there's going to be stomach scales. Alright, let's get those legs. To watch where that line is coming down the side. I'm still using my small brush at this point, even though the leg is huge, just because I want to make sure to be precise about not missing that side there. So back of the leg is going to be the same as front of the leg, but that stripe down the inner and outer of the leg is going to be the red-orange. So let us put a small accent in, and it's nice to have that because it's small, right? It's lower down on the model, and if it was big, it would be distracting. With the tail, though, because that's coming out from the stomach, I'm probably going to do the underside of the tail the lighter color. Just to change things up a little bit. That's funny, Twisted Oma, because you actually spelled Chihuly perfectly, but the rest of your spelling is so all over the place because sometimes fingers just don't function great. But you managed to spell Chihuly actually correctly. That's the artist that I saw that inspired me to do the color Orchid Purple, by the way. He has this great raspberry color in his glass blowing. It's apparently really hard to nail. If you really just enjoy the model, I would just paint it simply. Though you could certainly steal colors from his work. That's what I think I like the best. Yeah, there's an exhibition of his work. We went in Seattle. We went to the one up there, and then I've also been to the one in Florida, and I've been in the one in Oklahoma City. But yeah, I think his colors are the thing. I steal his colors more than the patterns. And we're moving right along, getting our turquoise. It's a pretty color, isn't it? Yeah, Chihuly is David Chihuly is. He was, when he started out, he pretty much revolutionized the entire field of art glass. Now we see his stuff and it's like what we see everywhere, but before he figured out how to do that technique, it just didn't exist. Now he's got a whole bunch of copycats. We looked at a Chihuly vase in, they had small pieces for sale at one of the art galleries in Carmel that we went to a while ago. But David already had a nice glass piece from a local artist that was very Chihulian style, so we were like, we don't really need to pay that much to have the real thing. I gotta get the other side of this leg. I'm just trying to nail down where that little seam is. So that I can keep it in the right place. And let's see, that's all. This is the sides of the model I need to figure out. I'm kind of sticking my brush in there down this place. And I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go all the way up to the sides of this. There's still small scales, a small row of scales in here that I could do red and orange. And I think I may do that. So I'll take the teal right up, the turquoise right up to the side here. There we go. Alrighty. Looking okay. In some areas it's a little thin. kind of just touch up those areas a little bit. And then I've got to try to find a good highlight for this. I've got two options. I can add lighter color to my existing mix, or I can try to find a lighter blue and lighter green that will mix together like this. Or I guess I could grab a pre-bottled turquoise, but I probably would not actually add use a pre-bottled turquoise, because I would want to kind of keep the ratio I've got here of the 3:2. And maybe you could like find a existing turquoise that would work that way. But I'd rather mix it, I think. Oh, I need to get the back of the ears. Always wash behind your ears. Always base coat behind your ears, folks. Yes, it is a turquoise. And I added extra blue to it, but it is coming up, it is looking a bit green. But yes, we decided to go turquoise with our dragon. Thanks, Derek. It is a mixture of, you can see it, these two colors. And the Elven Green is in common release. The other one was a kind of a more special color, but you can also use 9055 Brion Blue instead of the Storm Chaser. Yeah, I really like Chihuli's ceiling pieces. It's really cool and inventive. Alrighty. Now the question is, do I want more base coat or do I want to start on the scales? I feel like I need more base coat. I'm going to actually throw Shield Brown down on the belly. Since I've got it right here and it's kind of what I would reach for. Yeah, it also resembles, as someone pointed out, the canceled Peacock Green from MSP. But I've been wanting to use this particular mixture for a while because I really like it. I like the color it makes. It's a beautiful color. So I'm gonna actually do the belly and the claws and the horns in this, I think. And I am going to bring in a line of red scales in here. So I want to just put this down the middle to remind myself of that. I do like the Larry Elmore cream beige bellies on dragons. So we're gonna go with the Larry. But yeah, before I start trying to highlight up that dark teal, that dark turquoise, I really want to have a sense of my other colors on the figure. And that's going to help inform how light or bright, I want to take that turquoise color. There's a little fang there that I want to also get. Yes, yes, because of all the D&D art, exactly. Larry Elmore taught us that dragon underbellies were beige, darn it. And they always looked good, so we're going to trust Larry. I got a little bit of a mold line, or nope, just an extra, I think an extra. Interesting. It almost looks like this snapped off. One horn is longer than the other. I may trim the other one just to make them the same. In fact, I think I will. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I want the horns to be the same. So you see what I mean here? Short horn, long horn. But there's a little bit of a line here. That's exactly where the quote-unquote break is in the other horn. So I think I'm going to go in there and just snip. Yep, there we go. And now my horns are the same. Yeah, if I want to like get excited about D&D, yeah, I think those are actually breaks along the line if I look at the texture of the plastic. But that's fine. Our dragonkin can have shorter horns. There we go. Just get all those little guys painted. Pretty good. Well, let's do the bottom of the tail. And we're going to bring that brown up an awful lot. But for now, and we're going to have to line as well, I think, and that'll let us shade a bit more, bring things down even further. Doing my classes, or doing the claws right now. Oh yeah, lots of classic covers. I used to have a collection of Dragon. got rid of them or lost them over the years. Yeah, whenever I need to inspire myself creatively, I just think back to those first D&D art covers and how I felt looking at them as a kid. I have very strong memories of like reading through the D&D basic set and getting the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons hardcovers. Oh, we missed a spot on the leg. And this is where I oh, no, we didn't. That's loincloth. Okay. Yeah, that's cloth. Okay, cool. Got it. A little bit concerned there. Oh, yeah, maybe you swapped them around, huh? There. Much better. Another nubbin. Endless nubbins. 3D printing has taught me to expect endless nubbins. Speaking of 3D printing and Moonlight Minis, we'll be doing that for my next paint-along. We're going to be choosing a Moonlight Minis model out of the suggestions that I asked for on the Discord, and maybe a couple of my own suggestions. I'll put up 5 or 6 models and have the paint-along tier vote on them. So if you ever wanted to get in on paint-along, but you didn't see a model that you could actually acquire, because sometimes that's a problem with shipping to places like Europe, I'm about to start a Moonlight Minis project in another couple months, and that should be gettable and printable everywhere. Alrighty. So we got keeping that stripe intact there that we're going to be putting red in. Ah, well now both horns are the same. Yeah, White Dwarf used to be more RPG, but now it's more of a an ad magazine for GW. Alrighty. I'm gonna grab my, let's do a mix of walnut and brown liner. I feel like I want a little bit of each. I want the, oh, toe claws, good call. Good call. I would have seen that like when I started lining Air Whiz, then gone, oh darn it. But the color would have still been wet, so it would have been okay. Thanks for the reminder though. Silly toe claws. White Wolf, yeah, used to have a... White Wolf is a game company. And I think there used to be a White Wolf magazine. But White Wolf was who made Vampire the Masquerade and my favorite role-playing game of all time, Werewolf the Apocalypse. I swear if I ever write RPG fanfic for Royal Road, it's going to be Werewolf the Apocalypse fanfic. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about your Werewolf Paladin, Kuroniko. Maybe that'll be the fanfic. We'll put it up free to read. We'll do our Werewolf Paladin romance, and then we'll stub it and put it on Amazon. I was just actually educating another author. I've got a new self-published Reddit is somewhat my enthusiasm for it had diminished because it is just a lot of people like coming in asking the same questions that they haven't bothered to Google. So my Alliance of Independent Authors just established a social community online, so I am a member, so I joined that. And that's much more, it's like my self-published Reddit, only better. Story with any kind of werewolf. We're getting there, Arrowiz. We're getting there. I love werewolves, so you're going to get there eventually, no matter what. But there's at least one wolf shifter in North of the Wind, which we will resume work on immediately after I wrap up Rite of Winter. And then after that, there's actually going to be another novella, I think. I've just started going organically. I'm not going to plan out my my books anymore, as far as like I'm going to write this book and then that book and then that book, because I keep getting ideas. Curse it, I keep getting ideas. Don't you hate it when that happens? I'm just touching up areas I see that I missed here. But there is a book. There's a book in between North of the Wind and South of the Stars. Or there's a book in between North of the Wind and... Yeah, maybe it's between it's actually going to be between South of the Stars and the next book, which I don't have a solid title for yet. So yeah, maybe we'll go to South of the Stars. Been waiting to write that book for so long. All the books, yes. Ask someone who knows is not as good as asking Google when you have a basic question, Pendrake. It is better if you're asking a very specific question, right? Like, if you read the article on X and you're like, I still have a question. Can somebody clarify this for me? Nobody minds that sort of question. That absolutely is a case of ask somebody who knows. But if you're just like, I don't know what the different platforms are for self-publishing my book, you can just type a question into Google and it'll give you pros and cons. And then if you have questions, then come to ask an actual person. But people who just walk in and expect to be spoon-fed, like somebody else has to spend 45 minutes writing a post that they could just find on the internet, not really like my favorite thing. As somebody who looks up things on the internet all the time and then goes to ask actual humans if I still have questions. But yeah, everybody's different, and there are always people who are going to like prefer to ask people. However, some of us who answer a lot of questions and try to help a lot get a little frustrated sometimes. Well, that's your opinion. I don't find it hard to find decent sources. But I find more often than not I can answer my question. Maybe I click on the wrong thing like the first time, but the second time I don't. But yeah, to each their own. Yeah, it's just who's going to spend the time in that case. You know, are you going to spend the time to filter the noise, or is the person that you ask online who decides to answer your question going to spend the time to answer your question? Although, to be fair, a lot of times people are like, why don't you Google this? Or more likely, they'll be like, this is a good website to find this out, and here is the article link. Which is, you know, a good compromise, right? Here's an article that actually talks about this so that I don't have to. The thing to remember when you're doing stuff with miniatures is that it's full of opinions, but everybody isn't necessarily wrong. Everybody's just got a different way to look at something and a different way to tackle it. So when you're dealing with something like that, it can be very difficult because it's like, oh, you may get varying opinions, but all of them may be potentially correct, depending on who you are. In that case, the most useful question becomes, is this true for me? It could be a perfectly good piece of advice and not work for you. All right, just kind of making sure that I've got all the sections that I want. Yeah. That is true. That is true. Quindy does have a point. That is kind of what I was talking about, and that is different from what we're generally discussing. Yeah, because that does get frustrating. Oh, I had a drive-by kikiing. Oh, did you just come in to tell me it was 11:01, Keeks? Kiki! She's like, you're still working. Oh, hi! Oh my god, come on up, Bubba. She just tried to leap into my lap. Did you try a lap leap? Did you try a lap leap? But I wasn't set up yet. It wasn't a very good lap leap, was it? It wasn't a very good lap leap. Oh, Papa. Tell them you got so many presents. Kiki got to actually... Oh, I should show you guys. Kiki learned to unwrap presents this Christmas. Oh, good girl. Good girl. Hi. Hi, you. Good girl. Good girl. You monster. You monster. Who's a good dog? You are. Well, if you let me wrap this up, Keekster, then I'll go and take you, okay? Okay, let me wrap it up. Let me wrap it up. Yes. Hold on, I gotta show you. Doo-doo-doo. Let's see if I can find it quickly. There we go. All right, so hold on. All right. Here we go. Are we ready for... She's like, Mom? So after she unwrapped it, then we had Kiki with her toy. I don't remember, Pendrake. Honestly, my husband talked me into it. David was adamant, and he was more adamant about it than I was against it. I do think it's generally a bad idea, because once your dog learns it can unwrap its toys, it can unwrap yours. But as it turns out, yes, Kiki unwrapped her one ball. I agreed to it because it was tissue paper, so it was super easy. But yeah, she's such a cutie. Nyang, nyang, this is my toy. Nyang, nyang. But yeah, I'm generally against most things that involve giving a dog a hey, you can do this, and then when you walk in the next time it's Christmas, half your presents are torn to shreds. Yeah, it can do that. But as it was, we ended up putting up a baby gate around the, or an exercise pen around the Christmas tree anyway, so she couldn't get in. Yeah, she loves that toy. She loves that toy. Okay, so we're going to stop there. Next time we are going to line and then start highlighting. I haven't decided on exactly what red I'll need, whether I want to start dark or start more mid. And I think in order to do that, I'm going to want to get a handle on the scales and the belly and start to see where my lights and darks are coming out. Then I'll make that call. Right now I'm thinking kind of a mid-light. And sometimes when you don't want to start real dark, you take something like an Asmodeus red or a deep red and you mix it half and half with like clear red or blood red. And you get it closer to like a mid-tone red. But the danger with the mid-tone red is it can look really, really bright, and it can be very difficult to get coverage, and it can be just a kind of a more of a nightmare to work with. I don't want to go too saturated. So while I'm mulling that over, I'm going to just work with shading, doing my lining, get this hammer blocked in because I want that to be dark because we're going to do it magma. Oh, I forgot to do the panels on this. I'll do that. She unwraps her own gifts. That's very good, Richard. Yeah, that's why David was adamant about it, was because his mom, the only dog she's had a relationship with when she was a kid, was one of her relatives had a Scotty that would unwrap its own presents, and she always talks about it. So that's why David wanted Kiki to unwrap her own present. So the nice thing about this particular shield is you can just really flood the interior of it because it's all inset. You can just flood it with the color. It's really easy. And because it's thinned, you're not going to get cracking. Don't try to do this kind of flooding if your paint is not thinned. Because if your paint is too thick, putting on too thick a layer can cause it to crackle. Because essentially the top of the paint dries before the bottom, and the bottom takes longer to dry, and so as it dries, it slowly pulls apart that top layer. It only happens with really thick, unthinned paint. But when you've got water in the paint, that takes that out of contention. That's not going to happen. The water's going to evaporate, and it's going to be a thinner layer, so we do that. Scottish Terriers are those black dogs with the beards, the little short black dogs with the beards, short legs. Yes, has her own brands of naughty. So does Kiki. The only downside to Scotties is, well, other than being terriers, which means they're very independent, they tend not to have a great rep around kids. Depending on the dog. It always depends on the dog. But some of them are definitely not super kid friendly. Okay, here we are. We have a start of a base coat, so that's good. We made some good progress. Tomorrow, we are going to be back on... Hold on. For our Friday show, we're going to be working on Angry Link. This means even more now that David is playing Zelda. The whole Angry Link meme. So yeah, we're going to be working on this. We're going to start painting the base and figuring out what we've got going on, and if we like it, and placing our model on it, and then we're going to figure out how we're going to work a bit more on the water effects on this. Yes. Yeah, neighbor Scotty's regard you with kids. Yeah, that seems to be a thing. Every street in Scotland has a Westie, and it's usually called Jock. That's funny. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you again tomorrow. Hey, it's Friday already almost. I love that. I love a short week. Yay, short week. Oh, Quindy, do we have Monday off? I think we do. Okay, and Reaper Live will be on tonight. But I think we have Monday off because it's the 1st, isn't it? Monday is New Year. Yep. And I believe that's a Reaper official off day. Yes, no streams on Monday. Okay, I just wanted to start talking about that now so that people weren't surprised. No streams on Monday, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. If you're not on tomorrow, have a Happy New Year, please. And then we will see you again on Tuesday. All right? Yes, Reaper official day off. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. This was a great stream. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.